Right, today we have question number 39. We've done 39 questions. Luke and Alyssa, this is your first time, and we've done 38 questions already. So here we go. Our question today, everyone's debating how I phrase this question. Can a Christian be rich and go to heaven? They think it should be can a person be rich and go to heaven? But if they're not a Christian, they're not going to heaven for sure. So anyway. That's what I'm thinking about when I write this. The issue of the ultra rich has come up quite a bit in our society. Like, I have friends who, this is awful, but they literally post all the time that we should eat the rich.
They hate them.
They hate rich people with a passion. They think that we should kill the rich people and just distribute their wealth, and we should all be better because the rich are dead and we ate them. He's also a cannibal or something. I don't get it. He posts this all the time. He's like, we should eat the rich. So, anyway. So, interesting part of the conversation. I want to start with this is actually a big deal in our society where the ultra rich hold so much of the money and there are so much poor people. This is a general distribution of wealth, okay? And it should have another category on top of here. This is the world, okay? So 40, what? Okay, you see here, 1% of the population are millionaires, and they hold 45% of the money. 1% of the people hold 45% of the money in the world. And then if you do the top two categories, so what's 11 plus 1?
12.
12.2% plus 45 plus 40? 85. So the top 12% of the people hold 80% of the money. 85% of the money in the world. And then, and then add 55 plus 32. 87% of the people only hold 15% of the money. So, is that equal distribution of wealth in our world? No. Clearly not. There's one more. Here, this one. Here's a visual of it. So, just a second. Here's a visual of it. So that's what we just talked about. This much money is held by 1%, right? And this much money, the blue and the dark green, is held by the 12%, okay?
You see those little people's colors on the right?
See? Is this visualizable?
So
So
dark.
anyway, and then you can even add a 0.1%. So these are like the billionaires of the world. It doesn't reflect that. But then that is also a large number. I don't know how to... I wish it had that. But then we were talking about, like, who's the richest person in the world right now? No one said it. Elon Musk. He just passed up... Well, him and Bezos were going back and forth all year. Bezos... Okay, Elon Musk is Tesla and SpaceX. He has... Well, okay. Last week he had he hit $300 billion. So
But they're not
Trillion.
one person.
they're not one person.
Yeah, no.
So no. The richest person in the world is Elon Musk, then Jeff Bezos, then it kind of goes back and forth between Microsoft guy, Bill Gates, used to be the richest person, and then what else? There's like a Mexican guy who owns the cell phones in Mexico. He's up there. There's like those people are billionaires, right? They control even more of the money. Anyway, so this is a big conversation in our world about the distribution of wealth. What if we just took all the money from the rich people and then gave it to all the poor people and equally distributed wealth? That's going to be a common idea that's thrown around. Communism type distribution of wealth. Capitalism is evil. These rich people are evil. They have too much money. Yes, Betsy.
And then we can all be equally miserable.
Then we can be equally miserable. Sounds great. So, but literally, these people do have more money than they can spend. Like, what is Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos doing with their spare time? And the other guy, what's the other? Richard Branson is another guy. They're going to space because they just have so much money. They're like, well, let's go, which is actually cool. So there's different. All right, I don't want to spend more time on this.
Hey, boys in the corner.
But
I'm hearing a lot of chatter.
This is why this is relevant in our world right now, because we're having discussions about the ultra rich being way too rich. But as you look at this, where do your families probably fall?
At the very bottom of the tiny green section.
False. Basically, if you live in America,
Or in the middle section.
you are in the top, I don't know, 25% richest. You are, okay, that other chart had a better.
Brian, do you remember if you even owned a car, you're in the top 2% of the world?
So here's the thing. This range, so I don't know how to put this. If this is cash in the bank, maybe not necessarily. You're probably most of your families are here. But if you do assets, I guarantee you, if your families own a home, you're in the second top category, maybe in the highest category. Okay? Because if your parents, I'm gonna put Jacob on the bus. Jacob bought a house last year, and that house probably went up $100,000 in value in the last year. So he has $100,000 in wealth. Like this is what living like we do live in a rich country, a prosperous country, where if you just own a house, you're in the second top richest category just because of assets. Now, that's not money in the bank. You can't spend it. Just because Jacob's in the top category, second to top category, doesn't mean he drives a Ferrari, because that's not cash he has, but it is a sign of general wealth. So we're basically all here in the second top category. So you think about the rest of the world where, okay, I've heard this, and maybe it's changed a little bit, but half the population lives on like $2 a day. Maybe we'll go $3 with how those stats have changed. What costs $3 for us?
Water.
I can no longer even get a coffee.
You can't even get a coffee at Woods anymore for $3, right? Now, the economies are different, right? Like we have to make more money just to live normally in the United States. So it's not comparable where a coffee costs $3, a head of lettuce costs $3 maybe, like stuff like that. So it is going to look different because we live in a prosperous society. We are spending more money, and it all happens. Where in poorer countries, you can barely maybe survive off $3, maybe $10 a day. We can't imagine living on $10 a day. Your families spend over $100, maybe $200 a day just to survive, right? So, but there's lots of the world that obviously they're not all dead, so they are able to live on a few dollars a day, but it's a level of poverty. So I've broken it down into like these categories, which I just kind of thought of. So ultra wealthy, having more than you can ever spend, right? So we're thinking.
I fixed it myself. I don't even know.
We're thinking about like the people going to space, the billionaires and stuff. Wealthy is having way more than you need, right? Like you can spend, more, get all kinds of toys and all kinds of things and way more than you need. But rich is just having more than a person needs. If your family has 2 cars, you're rich. You're richer than way more of the world that doesn't. Maybe they can only afford 1 car, right? Like we think about like having 2 cars is normal. Poor would be having only enough to survive, right? So I'm thinking about that. Hey, poor. I'm calling someone poor if they only have enough to survive, right? Like they don't have any extra money in the bank. All their money goes to survival items like food, clothing, shelter. I would say there is poor in our country, but even the poor people living off welfare or government help are better off than a lot of poor in other countries, right? Comparison. So even poverty Poverty would be not having enough, maybe. Poor would maybe be living in America with minimum wage. Poverty would be, you know, I don't know if there's any true poverty in America because of there is help. So there probably would be people who don't get help, homeless people that would be in poverty. But it's an interesting conversation because our government helps people. So anyway, poverty and poor looks different in America than it does in any other country. Whether in Haiti, where there isn't any government money to help you,
Right, I was gonna.
and you have to survive.
The Starfish Ministries calendar gift guide comes every November, and for $36, we can give $36, and it can feed a child in the Starfish Ministries school for 1 year. I can feed, because it's inflation, it's our money's worth more, their money's horrible.
Yeah.
But for $36, I can feed a child at least once a day, it might be more, for 365 days. You just think about what your money can do, and then basically how rich I am that I spent $5.17 on a latte at Wood's yesterday.
Now, we talked about all this. This is why it gets to a biblical conversation. Mainly this one passage in Matthew. I want you to look it up. Matthew 19. I was actually researching a different question that we can do maybe next week or in the future about the prosperity gospel, which is Christianity that teaches that you should be healthy and wealthy, and that if you're following God, like, wealth will come with that. And I hit this question. I thought we need to talk about just like money and wealth in general first, okay? But Matthew 19, a rich man comes to Jesus. Some of your Bibles might say the rich young ruler. That's why I've always thought of him as young for some reason. But it just says the rich man in Matthew 19:16.
What is it in the Bible?
Page 590. It says, someone came to Jesus with this question. Teacher, what good deed must I do to inherit eternal life? Now, what's the problem with this question first off? What good deed must I do to inherit eternal life? Betsy.
He thinks he can have eternal life through doing good things.
Right. This is not the
By
gospel.
buying it, or by buying
His question is wrong, right? He's like, what good thing can I do to earn my way to heaven? That's his question. So his question is flawed first off, right? It's the wrong question, right? And so Jesus is, the way he answers is clearly because, like, in response to this question being off. That's why Jesus answers in a weird way. First of all, he says, why ask me what is good? Jesus replied, there's only one who is good. Only God is good, right? But to answer your question, if you want to receive eternal life, keep the commandments. Which ones? The man answered. And Jesus replied, you must not murder, you must not commit adultery, you must not steal, you must not testify falsely, honor your father and mother, love your neighbor as yourself. I've obeyed all these commandments, the young man replied. What else must I do? Jesus told him, if you want to be perfect, go and sell all your possessions and give the money to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven, and then come follow me. But when the young man heard this, he went away sad, for he had many possessions. So he was a rich man, and Jesus is telling him, to go to heaven, you have to sell all that you have. Now, why does that just sound weird to us?
Because, I mean, there's something you can do also.
Right.
Yeah, it's not, like, heaven is not about what you do, it's just what you believe.
Right. So Jesus is saying you have to do this stuff, and then you can go to heaven. Now, Jesus, because we know the gospel is not what you can do, he's answering this flawed question in a way that it will show him that he's not good enough, that he can't earn his salvation. So what does he say to his question? What must I do? Oh, you have to be perfect. And then he says, I'm perfect. And he's like,
Okay.
well, first of all, no, you're not. There's no way you've kept all the commandments. And then here's your sin issue, right? He brings it to, here's a big sin issue in your heart that you can't just overcome, because I know your heart is your possessions. It's your money. Go and sell all you have and give it to the poor. So he targets, like, here, you are a sinner. There's no way you can earn it. There's nothing you can do. Here, I'll prove it to you. Go and sell all you have and give it to the poor. If you're willing to do that, right?
He knew his heart.
Right, he knew his heart.
His heart
So
was
it
all-
sounds weird because Jesus is telling him instructions on what he can do to earn heaven. So here's the interesting part. He goes away sad because he had many possessions. He was rich, and he wasn't willing to give it up to follow Jesus, right? So it reveals his heart. What is more important to him than following Jesus? His money, his possessions, right? Jesus says to his disciples, I tell you the truth, it's very hard for a rich person to enter the kingdom of heaven. Okay, so this is basically why we're asking this question. It's very hard for a rich person to enter the kingdom of heaven. I'll say it again. It's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich person to go through the kingdom, to enter the kingdom of heaven. Okay, what's an eye of a needle?
Oh man, I hate this debate.
When you shove the string through, right? There's an interesting conversation on what an eye of a needle is. The disciples were astounded. Then who in the world can be saved, they asked. Jesus looked at them and intently said, humanly speaking, it's impossible, but with God, everything's impossible. And then Peter says, we've given up everything to follow you. What will we get? And then they're still thinking about this earning. Jesus is trying to shift their thinking, right? But they're so talking about what do they have to do. I assure you that when the world is made new and the Son of Man sits upon his glorious throne, you who have been my followers will also sit on 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. Everyone who has given up houses or brothers or sisters or father or mother or children or property for my sake will receive 100 times as much in return and will inherit eternal life. But many who are the greatest now will become the least important then, and those who will seem least important will be the greatest then. So, taking this conversation, a lot of Christians will say, like, it is impossible or wrong for Christians to be rich. Okay? So this is all that, and now we have 10 minutes left. We're finally getting to what I'm trying to talk about. Christians being rich, is that right or wrong? Should Christians be rich? Should Christians sell all they have and give to the poor to be a real Christian? This is our question. So, our challenge is, what if a rich person becomes a Christian? Should they sell all they have and give their money away? Or can money be a problem for poor people? Can money be a hindrance to the gospel, to believing in Jesus, even for poor people? Or is it just the rich people that have a problem with money? Okay. Do you see the question here? Do you see why this passage is challenging? Luke.
So I learned in school this interesting thing about this. So in biblical times, sometimes when it was night, they'd lock the gates, but if someone still wanted to get in, then there was a small door that was like super tiny, and like even a normal person would have to like duck to go in. And it was called the eye of the needle.
Yes,
So actually,
I've heard this too.
Sometimes camels, they could like bend down really low and go through that door into the city, which was called the eye of the needle. But it was so hard because you would have to unpack all of the stuff and file it through and then get the camel to bend down low.
I've heard different debates on this, and I kind of like it. It's a good picture. If Jesus was talking about a small door in a gate rather than a actual needle hole, because an actual needle, a camel, it can't get through. That's impossible, right? But the small door in the gate that was commonly referred to as the eye of the needle, it was technically possible. But all the possessions had to be removed, or all the load and burdens had to be removed off the camel, which is kind of an interesting thing for you can't take it all with you to heaven. And like the things, the burdens you carry, all the stuff you have can't go with you, and you have to release those things in order to pass through. It's interesting. I kind of like that explanation for this verse, because the camel through the needle's eye shows it as impossible, but that explanation shows that Jesus was talking about something that was very challenging and required releasing the possessions, and then it was possible, which speaks into this. Okay, I want some people to look up verses. Matthew 6:24. Betsy. James 2:5. Is this the verse you were thinking of? You already had it looked up? That's awesome. James 2:5. Ellie. Luke 12:15. Trevor. 1 Timothy 16:17. Actually, I'm going to skip that one. Matthew 6:21. Caitlin. Proverbs 3:9. Andrew. All right, let's look up these verses. I have a lot more, but that's what we'll hit today. Betsy, let's start with the verse you were thinking of.
Okay. No man can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and money.
So this is an interesting verse talking about the problem of money, not for rich people or poor people, but for all people, that money cannot be your master. And so when we look at the world, when we look at how the world works, everything's run by money, right? Money makes the world go around. Money, you gotta, if you want to come to Snowblast, guess what you got to do? Give me money, right? Everything costs money. Is money bad? Is money good? Good job. Is money the root of all evil?
No.
Sin is.
Is money good or bad?
Love of money.
No. Money is neutral, okay? Money is a function of society. It allows you to, trade work for goods, for services, time for services, right? It's a method of exchange. Good word. Like it just, like you could trade, like I can give you a dozen eggs for some milk. Just because parents grew up on the same street, one was a chicken farmer, one was a dairy farmer, and they would trade milk for eggs all the time, right? Like, trading is awesome. I think we need to go back to more of a trading society because then there's no taxes, right? It's awesome. But trading, we should do more trading. But money is a function, is an expansion of trading. Now, it's crazy. Money starts to lose value when you start to talk about millions and billions and trillions, right? It doesn't make any sense. You know how much $1 billion is? How many millions is $1 billion? 1,000 million. How, it's unfathomable, right? When I'm like, ooh, I have a coupon for 50 cents off a McChicken. Wow. And then my house goes up $100,000 in value. Like, money makes no sense to me, guys. Like, the older I get, the money becomes just stupid. And then it's insane that it drives your life. How many billion is $1 trillion? 1,000 billion is $1 trillion. It doesn't. How many trillion is our country in debt right now? 29 trillion. It's just, money is stupid. It doesn't make sense. But money is a function. But you're right. Okay, a lot of you said it right. Money is not good or bad. Money itself is not the root of evil. The love of money is the root of evil. It causes you to do all kinds of evil things, right? People murder for money. People steal for money. That's obvious. Or people, covet, right? So you look at the Ten Commandments. People covet, right? It's basically wanting the stuff someone has, the money. Lying. People are kidnapped, right? Haiti. They're kidnapped. What do they want? $1 million a person, right? So money is this weird, necessary, evil, terrible thing, right? Move on, okay? The love of money is the root of evil. So being rich or poor, being mastered or controlled by evil, it's going to be a hindrance and a block for you to follow God. If money is your master, God can't be your master. You can't serve two masters. You can't live for money, which, in your counseling classes, they say, what do you want to do with your life? And they're like, I remember I said a couple weeks ago I wanted to be a bike mechanic, and then the counselor's like, that doesn't make enough money. And I was like, I don't care, I want to be a bike mechanic. And anyway, that was funny. All the counseling things it's always about money too. Next verse. Who had James 2:5?
Me.
All right, go for it.
Listen, my dear brothers and sisters. Didn't God choose the poor in this world to be rich in faith and heirs of the kingdom that he has promised to those who love him?
Didn't God choose the poor in this world to be rich in faith? So a lot of times we talk about God's kingdom as an upside down kingdom. And we heard it in Matthew 2, the great in this world will be least in God's kingdom. God's kingdom is upside down in this way. God doesn't look at a rich person and say, ooh, you're rich, I can use you, right? For good things, for missions, for building a church, for all this kind of things. Remember in youth group, was that when we looked at how do we serve others? We talked about inviting the rich person into church or the poor person. The rich person were like, here, have a nice seat. And aren't they the people that sue you and make your life miserable?
This is the same James
Yes.
2.
Yes, this is what it's from, the context of that. God's kingdom is an upside down kingdom. Does God care how much money you have? About if you're valuable, right? We talked about in value to God. No, he doesn't care. God has all the money he wants. He doesn't care. It is just paper to him. It's just stuff. God can just print $1 trillion coin. just like the government.
People are rich in other ways.
Yes.
I don't know. What? I'm trying to summarize it first.
It's not a value assessment. Poor or rich is not a value to God.
That means Elon Musk isn't the richest in the world.
Who is? He's not in the world. He's not a person.
God is not of this.
Okay, Matthew 6:21. Sorry, we're running out of time. I this one, I don't know.
What did you say,
Weird. Matthew 6:21. Caitlin had it? Okay.
For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also.
For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So again, your heart. Is your heart wrapped up in money? Is money the ultimate treasure? Is it the thing you think about? Is it the thing you care about? Or is it God's kingdom? Is it serving Him? Like, it's a heart issue. If maybe your heart is to go to Haiti and be a teacher there. Like, that's your heart. But guess what you need to go there? Money. So you have to talk about money in order to go do what your heart is. But where's your heart? Is your heart to get rich? And is that the first thing on your heart? And so you're going to go to Haiti? That's a bad plan. If you want to be rich, don't go to Haiti. But
actually, the minute I go to Haiti, I'm super rich because
that's
their economy
true.
is horrible.
Yeah, you take
And I got
$1,000 there and you're probably a millionaire. Anyway, don't let your heart be wrapped up with money, right?
Wait, why don't we just
Proverbs.
Good
idea.
No,
We should do it in Shiba Inu coin, and then I can give them.
Just give them $100.
I could give them 30 million in Shiba Inu.
There you go.
That's exactly the amount I have
Ask
of
for a
Shiba
million.
Inu. Proverbs 3:9. Luke. Oh wait, who had Proverbs 3:9?
We could just
I didn't write that. I'll just write that.
million of wealth, so we could just
Andrew had it.
Bitcoin.
Shh.
Honor the Lord with your wealth and with the first fruits of all your produce.
Honor the Lord with your wealth. Okay, so there's more verses too, but can a rich person be a Christian? Sorry, getting back to our conversation.
Yes.
Okay, honor the Lord with your wealth. Do you have to sell everything you have if you're rich to be a Christian? Why not? That's what he told the rich young ruler to do.
Because that dude was his
that
heart
dude
was
was
wrapped
obsessed
in
with
money.
money.
It was a different type. You can have money, but use it for God's
Right.
kingdom, not
Yes.
for your selfish desires.
Yeah, Jesus was pointing out that guy's problem. That was his stumbling block. His wealth was preventing him from following the Lord. Because Jesus actually invited the man. He's like, sell it and come follow me. Jesus said, come be my disciple. And the man couldn't do it. He couldn't be Jesus'
yeah.
disciple.
Because he loved money. The love of money, not money itself. So, other verses, Ecclesiastes 5:10, whoever loves money never has enough.
Amen to that.
Question asked of, what's the old guy, richest guy? He used to be the richest guy? Warren Buffett. Someone asked Warren Buffett, how much money is enough? What did he say?
$1 more.
$1 more. Right? He has billions of dollars. He said, how much money is enough? $1 more. He always
So
wants
was he content?
more.
No.
Whoever loves money never has enough. Whoever loves wealth never is satisfied with their income. This too is meaningless in Ecclesiastes. Hebrews 13:5. Keep your lives free from the love of money. Be content with what you have, because God has said, never will I leave you, never will I forsake you. 1 Timothy 6:10. Here's the verse we talked about. For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. Some people eager for money have wandered from the faith and pierced themselves with many griefs. The love of money is the root of all kind of evil. There was one other one. Speaking to a rich person, God said to Solomon, and he asked Solomon, what do you want? I'll give it to you. What did Solomon say? I want wisdom. He didn't say I want wealth or a long life. Since this is your heart's desire, you have not asked for wealth or possessions or honor, not for the death of your enemies, since you have not asked for a long life, but for wisdom and knowledge to govern my people over which I have made you king. Therefore, wisdom and knowledge will be given to you, and I will also give you wealth, possessions, honor, such as no king who has ever before you had, and none after you will have. God made Solomon the richest king ever, right? And that was God's doing, and he was thankful for the heart of Solomon, which was not for money first, but for wisdom to govern, to be a good king. God blessed him with wealth. If God didn't want his followers to be wealthy, he wouldn't bless any of his followers with wealth. So, yeah, that's enough of the verses. There's more, but generally, I think you guys are seeing it, right? It's not about being rich or poor. It's not about like, oh, Christians can't be ultra wealthy or wealthy. Now, generally, what should a rich person do with their money? What are some of the things they should do with them? What?
Divide all the money up and
Should divide it all up and give it all away? Is that what a Christian rich person should do? Every Christian rich person.
No.
They should go down to $0.
No.
What should a rich person do with their wealth?
They should share it with
They should share it, yeah. Should they share it all? What how do they do this?
Give it to charity.
Wiley.
I was gonna say they should seek to honor God with it.
Yeah, they should seek to honor God with it. They should be good stewards of it. Do you know how much work it is to manage a lot of money? Like this problem. Actually, this is totally current news. Someone was like, "Oh, Elon Musk, you just gained $20 billion. Do you know it only costs $6 billion to end world hunger?" I mean, and have you guys heard that
He was
before?
like, I would do that.
He's like, show me a plan that would cost $6 billion to end world hunger, and I'll give you $1 billion to do it. Because, Jesus, this is a good verse too. Jesus said, the poor you will always have with you. It's not all problems. You can't just throw money at problems. There's so much corruption and greed. So much of the aid America sends over to other countries is stolen by guerrilla warfare people, by rebels, and then sold at a higher price. Like it funds their operations. It's very difficult to help people. You can't just throw money at problems. If you have a lot of money, if God has blessed you with a successful business or inherited wealth, it's actually a lot of work to honor God with that money. More money, more problems. And that becomes a greater burden for a person with wealth to try to honor God with more money, right? It becomes, you have to be a better steward and find things that are worth giving to. You can't just you can just give it away, but you want to use it wisely. You can't just give it to organizations that are going to waste it, right? Like you do want to give it to organizations that are, and when you talk about large sums of money, you can't, if you gave Grace Baptist $1 billion, we wouldn't know what to do with it. We don't need that much money. It might seem like a good idea, we'll give it to a church. It would be a ton of work for us to figure out how to use that money well, right? We would end up wasting a lot of it, or not using it for good. It would just sit there, right?
Right. That's what I think about successful business. And I know a lot of you here have parents who might own a business or manage a business. The ability to employ other people is fantastic. So would you rather employ someone for 25 years or give them $100,000? Employing them is better, right? So I just think
it takes a lot of work to manage wealth, and it's not just about having a ton of money. If I gave Ollie $1 million, what would you do with it?
Go back.
You'd probably waste a lot of it. Maybe you would start a business that would be helpful to lots of other people or something.
Not at my age.
Not at your age, right? You just buy a gaming PC and waste your life. And lots of things anyway. So it's interesting, okay? Wealth is not, money isn't this simple thing. Money makes me go, it just doesn't make sense to me so much times. But in general, it's not about the dollars, how much dollars, it's about the heart. This is true of everything with God, right? It's not about the actions, behavior, it's about the heart, okay? Let's get to our final short answer. So, if our question was phrased this way, can a Christian be rich and go to heaven? What is the answer? Yes. Here's what I wrote in addition to this. Write this down. This is an important summary. If a rich but a rich person is more likely to rely on themselves to be their own savior, right? They think, I'm rich, I'm in a good spot, I can take care of myself, I don't need help, right? That Jesus talks about, I didn't come to save the sick, or the healthy, I came to save the sick, right? So a rich person often feels like they don't need anyone's help. They don't need God's help. They are in a tougher spot to believe. This rich person, the rich young ruler, that was his problem. He thought he was good enough. So he was asking Jesus, really, what can I do? But I think I've already done it. I think I'm good enough.
Right.
Can I get your stamp of approval on my life? Jesus, like, I'm good enough, right? I've done all these things, right? That's what he was looking for. He went away sad because Jesus targeted the thing that was his heart problem. And then this is what we talked about. Rich have the extra